Hello, Benjamin.
Hi there.
All right.
Did you get in trouble for not using technical
No,
vocabulary?
I'm giving you a promise that I promise to use my best technical vocabulary.
Well, I mean, you just do the best you can. That's what I always say.
Let's see. Okay, here we go. We're on tic-tac-toe with AI, and I am in the method turn, and here's my class. I'm in class game. Now, the three, do you need to look over here? Let's look in this. Would you tell me what you'd like to do first?
Well, this enowent error that you're getting, which is in blue,
Yes.
can be, or red, it's kind of confusing. It's not an easy error to interpret, but what I finally figured out after going through the whole program and then tutoring is that enowent has to do with this gets and puts.
Yes.
And so let us look at the spec,
Okay.
game spec line 181, to try to understand
I've been there. I've
what's
been to
expected
181.
of us.
Okay. Here we go. And actually I borrowed this game.turn. That's, I just put that in my code. Anyway. So here we go.
So game is just a blank new game, which means that it would have default inputs, right? Because really with a game you can like instantiate a new player or whatever, but this is just kind of the bog standard blank new game. And there are, so it's saying on line 177 you can receive puts, and like there's no limitations to that, so I think you can do as many puts as you want. Line 179 is the part that's actually breaking this here, I suspect, which is that the thing that receives the gets is the player.
Oh, I coded it as the instance of the board.
And so I think that's why we're getting the enowent error. Now, this seems vaguely familiar to me. It's been a while since I looked at this lab, but if you look at your players folder, do you have a human and a computer?
Yes, but I don't think I fleshed it out yet. I'm not there yet. Well,
but you've got something in human. And do you notice that there it's calling the gets.strip, and we're in the human class? So I think the intention here, and it didn't totally make sense to me how it got arranged this way, but I think the intention is that you can call the move method on an instance of a player that's human. And and in the middle of doing that, you're going to call gets.strip, and that would happen on the human player then.
Oh, within my class game, I'm going to define move, because I was going to say like move, like as a variable, move equals like the current player.
So just to understand more about what this method is doing, it takes an argument of the current board and it returns whatever the person types in, right? Because the very last line of this is move equals gets.strip.
Yes.
So if the person types in 1 or 2 or 3, that's what this method is going to return.
Yes.
So let's incorporate that into our turn method.
Okay.
Now notice, sorry, can you go back up to the initialize?
Oh, yes.
Because I just want to point out that you have some defaults set, right? Your defaults are 2 human players and a blank board.
Yes.
Okay. So that means when they called game.new and they didn't pass in any arguments, we're playing with the defaults, which means you have a human player for player 1 and you have a human player for player 2.
Yes, I
And
remember reading. Yes.
right. And that also means that the move method, which is under the human class, is available for you to use.
Okay. And that's also where, I'll just say it in English, that's also where I have to put my get strip. Okay. Okay.
Well, you're not going to have to write gets.strip if
I-
you use the move.board, move board method on player 1 or player 2. And the reason for that is because it's already inside of that method.
Side of that method. Okay, let me just do that here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The body of this method does have, okay. Okay.
Okay, so now let's go to game.rb and look at turn. So the first thing you did in turn was to say player equals current player, which is good because we want to know which player is getting the turn here.
Yes.
All right. Then what is the purpose of line 45?
I made the conditional because the three things that this method had to accomplish, the three things were, one, to establish a valid move, two, what was it? Oh, to puts, I think, to ask for input. And then I think the third thing was not to display the board, but maybe it was to update it. Anyway, I wrote it down somewhere in my notes. But the reason why I put 45 there is so I could start out with asking for input. And if it,
So let me put it this way. When is player going to be nil? Or why would we ever not do enter 1 through 9? I mean, if we're at the point where we've called turn and we're taking the turn.
yeah, the board is full.
No, I mean, I think that would happen in a separate part of the sort of fuller body of things. Like turn is actually just the mechanics of taking a turn.
Okay.
So, at the point where you make your X and you pass it to me, then, what's going on in terms of having a turn? So we don't have to consider, is the board full? Is the game over? Did Cheryl's last move win the game? I mean, all of that has to be considered, but it happens somewhere else. The turn is just very basic. Okay, who's the player? Make a move, and then display the board, update the board, or whatever.
Well, you know what? Then I could probably just get rid of this 45.
Right. And the puts and the strip you saw are in your move. And so
yeah, that's right.
You're not going to call those separately. You can just call the move method on
There we go. Okay.
what object?
The move method. Well,
I mean, for instance, you couldn't just say, yeah, exactly. And since you said player equals current player, then you say player dot
move.
Right.
Because I've already
does move have an argument?
Well, it's on the board, so. Right?
Okay.
Okay. So.
And then, so let's just see where that gets us.
Okay, and I think this is wrong too. 47.
Go ahead and take out 45, 46, 47. You're going to want to take out your else.
Oh, that's right, because it came with my if.
But you could, does update, take me to the board class. Does update take an argument? I like the idea of update because move really only asks the player where they want to go and gets their input. That's all move does. So we haven't actually physically done anything to the board yet.
Oh, if this, to answer your question, I think update would take the player.
Well, let's take a look at the board class and just double check.
Okay.
What does the method update look like? Takes two inputs.
Oh.
It takes where we want to play as a number, not as a, not an array element, but the position. And then it takes the player. Okay, so that's good to know. Now put those into your turn method where you called update.
Okay. Don't tell me. Right.
You want feedback now?
Yes, please.
Um,
Because I'm right.
one of the things that you want to get used to is the idea that if you're standing on line 47 and you look up, you need to be able to see the words that you're using on line 47. So for instance, you use the word player on line 47. If you look up, you can see that player is defined, right? So it's totally valid for you to use the word player.
Oh, I don't have input. Where's
Exactly.
input?
Right.
I'm gonna have like a no method error, or I'm sorry, that's no argument. Well, it's just an argument.
Yeah, close.
Okay, so now I have to figure out. I have to see if the word input is probably under
Where are you getting the input from?
I thought it was part of what we were just looking at.
Exactamundo. It is. So it's the return of which method that we've already called?
Move.
Good. So why don't you got a couple ways you could do it. You could just say on line 44, input equals player.move.
Oh, that's even smarter.
Or you could take line 44 and just shove it into the place of input. That's kind of a zippier way to do it.
Oh, with the shovel?
No, I mean just cut line 44 and paste it over input. But let's write it first with the input equals on line 44, and then I'll kind of explain what I mean. No, you still want input there because you need two arguments.
Oh, okay. And this is like a variable input equals.
Right. So line 44, you're declaring, okay, here's what I mean when I say input. And then you go to the player and you say, hey, call the move method on the player. During that move method, we do the puts and we get the gets. And that's the return of the move method. So that's what we store as input. Then on line 47, you have player defined, you have input defined. So you say, hey, go to the board, call the update method. And when I call the update method, I know I have to give it two arguments. So here's the input and here's the player, which I've already defined.
That just makes a lot of sense.
So the zippier way that I was saying you could do it, and I'll write it in the chat just so you can see it because it might sound a little weird. But you could call this all in one line. Board dot update parenthesis player dot move board comma current player. Can you see that in the chat? You know how to open the chat?
Yes.
So what this does is it basically takes out the two lines 43 and 44, because all those are really doing is storing the stuff that you want to be able to do the update. And you're putting that information directly as the inputs into your update function, as the arguments for your update function. Now, you don't have to use that. I'm just showing you that's another way to code that more succinctly.
Does that get saved if I have that in chat, or you know what I'm going to do? I'm just
What you could, yeah, you could just copy and paste it in and comment it out.
okay. Thank you.
I would actually put it up
A little bit like
by line 47,
okay.
because that's what it's.
Doesn't look like an afterthought.
Right.
Right here?
Yep, before or after.
Okay. Thank you.
And the only other change that I would make is I think you could, I think the 45 is superfluous now because that's part of the move method.
Okay, which was right in here.
Although you didn't specifically say
yeah
1 through 9. So you may, that is a little clearer. And the other problem with line 6 there is this is not always going to be your first move, right? This could be whatever.
Oh, please make your okay, that's I might have to take there we go. Okay. Go figure. All right. Well, thank you.
So let's see. Let's take out that puts in turn, and then let's see if
Shall I just uncomment, or I'll take out these things.
comment it out, because you may want to have that in your move method. But let's just see what the test is saying now,
Okay.
because I think we fixed the major errors of the major error was that it didn't know. Oh, yes. Let's troubleshoot this.
62. I have to just get rid of this. I was using that to.
No, that's not.
Well,
that's
okay.
not actually the issue.
Well, no, I was just getting it out though, because
That's true. If you want to get rid of it, you can.
There we go.
This is a tricky one.
Okay. Let's just see about my ends. Okay. Class ends on 52. Okay. Def end. Def end. Def end. Okay. That do. That's that end for the do. There's the end for that. Okay, let's see. It says 62 cents. Okay. Def and def and def if okay if and def and it's aligned. Def let's pour it apple. Let's see. This one, this looks like an extra end right here.
Right. Why do you have an extra end there?
I don't know. It might be because I was adjusting things.
Yeah, you had an if earlier.
Oh, that's right. My if conditional. Okay. If else. I think that did it. Yeah. Yay. Now I have, well, I'll fix that. Test for inputting in after failed validation. Now, you know, if it says something like a failed validation, I'm thinking, just to think out loud, that if it passed for a valid move, that I should somehow just negate some of the code with like that. But I think that would be probably ridiculous and probably wouldn't work. It just seems too easy. But that's how I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, let's reframe it like this. If it's a valid move, then we can do the stuff that we plan to do, right?
Yes.
Line
Otherwise,
46, line 48. If it's not a valid move, so else, then basically we want to make them do it again. We don't need to, and we can sort of figure out how to make that happen, but that's the basic if structure. If it's
Okay.
a valid move, then do what we have planned,
yes.
and else we got to do something else. And it
Yeah.
looks like at least we want to ask them again.
Yes. What I'm thinking in terms of pseudocode is if I do like something like you're saying, if
Mhm.
blah blah blah,
Mhm.
and I think my then is going to be something like move, the word move, else, blah blah blah. I haven't figured out the word for that, but I think I would use the word move because it's either move or turn, and I've
Well, so move is where you ask the player for their input, right?
yeah.
So you can't check to see if it's a valid move until you've got the input.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think. Maybe it's like maybe I'm not understanding. Like, I mean, I've played the game before. But turn means move. Okay. I think I'm on the right track. I think I can mull over this.
Oh, you want a mole? Okay, no problem.
Well, actually, I don't, but I'm figuring you have a lot of other people to get to.
Let me check my time here. Doesn't feel like it's been 20 minutes. Maybe it's been close. Yep, it's been 22 minutes. Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your help, Benjamin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on you. Just shout if your if else construction doesn't work.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Cheryl.